Welcome to Atarashi Hinode by T3 Solutions. Today we'll be learning about while loops in Python. So the first question that comes in our mind when we hear while loops is that what is the use of it and where do we use those commands in my Python program? So now let's see the use of while loops and its structure. We often use a while loop when we need to make a program repeat a sequence of statements. Example, if a user enters an invalid value and we want the program to reject that value and repeat the sequence so that the user can enter a valid value again. So Python programs use a loop construction to repeat a series of actions. Now it is not only while loop that helps us to repeat a block of commands. We can also use for loop. Both of them helps us to repeat a sequence of statements in our Python program. So first we will learn about while loop. The while construction allows a program to repeat one or more statements while a given condition is true. Now let's take a look at its structure in Python program. So this is the anatomy of while construction in Python. First we need to enter the while command, then we need to mention the condition that we want the interpreter to check if it is true or not, and we need to enter colon, and then we can specify our commands that we need the Python engine to repeat. So the Python engine sees the word while and then it starts performing a while loop. The Python engine tests the condition of the word while. If the condition is found to be false, then the statements controlled by the while are skipped, and then the interpreter moves to the first statement that we have mentioned after the while. Or in other case, if the condition is found to be true, then the statements under the while block will be executed by the engine. Then the Python engine loops back to step 2, which means that as long as the condition that we have mentioned is true, then the Python keeps repeating all the commands under the while block unless the condition becomes false. Now let's try to understand the execution of the below program. Now as you can see here, I have entered while command for while loop and I have used the keyword true to make the condition as true. Now since the while condition is true, it will execute the commands that are inside the while loop. So now we have got print command with how are you typed inside quotes. So since the condition is true, the Python engine will execute this command endlessly. As you can see here, Python prints how are you infinite times. As long as the while condition stays true, the string how are you will be printed endlessly. So this is the reason why the Python engine prints how are you endlessly. And here, since this is PyCharm, you can see there is a pop-up showing that too much output to process, which will not be there in Python shell. Now you have understood that this program is an endless program. So now let's see how to stop this program in PyCharm. So if you are using PyCharm, you need to click on Run tab, which is on top of your PyCharm, and then you have to click on Stop under the drop down menu of Run. Or you can also use Ctrl plus F2 short key in order to stop this execution. And now let's see the execution of this program in Python shell. Now as you can see here, I am now on my Python shell, and now let's try executing that program. So first we need to enter while command since it is a while loop, and now we have to enter our condition. Let's use the true keyword to make the while condition true, and don't forget the colon. And now let's enter the statements that needs to be executed under this while loop. So we have entered print how are you inside quotes in this while loop. So as long as this while block is true, Python will execute this this statement. So now let's try executing it. And now as you can see here, the Python engine executes how are you infinitely. And now let's see how to stop this. For that, go to shell and then click interrupt execution, or you can also use the shortcut that is Ctrl C. Now let's examine this program. The Python will execute the first statement, which in this case is condition is equal to true. What will this do? This will assign the keyword true to our variable mentioned in the left side of the assignment operator. So now the value of the variable condition is true. The second statement is a while statement. Here we have called our variable condition. What is the value of our variable condition? True. So this will make our while loop true. Now, the Python will execute the first statement inside the while loop, that is print within the loop. Now what will this do? This will print everything that is mentioned inside the print command. In our case, it will print within the loop. Then our Python interpreter will go to the next statement inside the while condition, that is condition is equal to false. This is similar to what we did in the first statement. The Python engine will assign the keyword false to our variable condition. So what happens is that when Python interpreter completes the execution of this iteration, it goes back to the while statement and it will check the value of the while statement. So what is the value of the condition now? We have assigned it false here. So now the while loop became false. So the Python will jump outside the loop and execute the statements that come outside the loop. So this will print what is mentioned inside the print command, that is loop exit. So executing this will give the following output. Once it is inside the loop, it will print within the loop, that is our first statement inside the loop, and after assigning the variable false keyword, then the Python will go outside the loop and print the statement outside, that is loop exit in our case. Now let's see how to create a multiplication table as per user's requirement by using while loop in Python. So first we will ask a user to enter a number. So in order to get user input, we will be using input command. But if we use the input command, Python by default will consider it as a string data type even when the user input is a numerical value. But we actually wanted an integer data type. So we will be using int command in order to convert the string data type to our desired integer data type. And now we will be assigning this value to our variable, which is in the left hand side of the assignment operator, that is n. Now the Python interpreter executes the second statement, that is count is equal to 1. Here the integer value 1 will be assigned to our variable count. Now it will execute the while statement, that is while count less than or equal to 12. Here the Python engine will check the value of count, that is 1 less than or equal to 12, and since the condition is satisfying, Python engine will execute the statements that comes inside the while loop. So here Python will execute the first statement inside the loop, that is print count. The value of count here is 1. Then we use comma to print another value and we enter x in the form of string. And here you can see that there is a space between 1 and x. That is because in the command in the program 2 we have left a space here. So you will get the same space in the output as well. Then we use comma and then we print the variable n, which is the user input, that is 12 in this case, and then we print equal to in the form of string. Then we print the product of the variable count and n, that is 1 into 12 in this example. Then the engine executes the second statement inside the while loop, that is count is equal to count plus 1. Here we will be adding 1 to our count value and then assigning it back to our count variable. So here count is 1, so 1 plus 1 2. Now the value of our variable count became 2. Then the Python will go back again to the while statement and checks the condition, and this loop executes 12 times. And after the 12th execution, the count statement becomes 12. because here as you can see 12 into 12 is equal to 144, and currently the value of count is 12, and this statement will add 1 to it, which makes the value count 13, and then after completing this iteration the engine will go back to the while statement and it will call the value of count. Now when it checks this condition, it becomes 13 less than or equal to 12. Since the condition is not satisfied, the while condition becomes false and the loop will not be executed. Now let's run this program in Python. So let's first create a variable, and we need to store them in the data type integer, so let's use the int command. And now we need to take user input, so we need the input command, and then we can mention the prompt. So prompt is to be mentioned inside the quotes, and now let's type enter a number, and then let's click enter. This will take us to the next line, and now let's create a new variable count, and we will assign it the number 1. Initially it will be in the data type of integer only, and in the third line let's give a while statement, and let's give the condition as count less than or equal to 12, just like in our slide. Now let's print the value of count, and then let's print x. Now let's print the value which our user entered. Now let's print the equal to by using string, and now let's print the product of our count variable and the user entered value. Now in the second statement inside the loop, we need to increase the value of our count variable, right? So that once the table reaches the 12th value, it will just print the table up to the 12th product, and from 13th it will not execute since the while condition becomes false. So for that we need to increase the value of count by 1. So let's give count is equal to count plus 1. So here it will become 1 plus 1, and then the value 2 will be assigned to count, and after the 12th execution the value of the count will be 13, and the loop will not be executed by the Python interpreter. So now let's run this program. So as you can see here, it shows the prompt to enter a number. So let's enter 12, and now as you can see, it has printed the multiplication tables up to 12. This is the end of this tutorial. See you in next tutorial.